I think I still have a minute. Could go to the next slide. With the symposium theme, the theme of this symposium is the role of university sports as a vehicle for institutional development. And I would say that sports is an institution. I think Rajat's institution of all most impactful institution, or an institution which relate to most of other institutions, and it plays key roles to got kind of complementary roles with other social institutions. And I'll say that the universities got what is called, I can call reciprocal role of ensuring that sports develops in a way that is sustainable. Yeah. The current presentation, of course, focusing on highlighting issues which may threaten the nature of sports as we know it today. So thank you very much, and I'm sure we'll get time for reactions. Chairman of this session can take over. So the chairman is finding out if the guest of honor is allowed the corner to enter, but will be given in a short time.
Good morning, members, and welcome for this presentation. So we want to take this opportunity to thank Dr. Mundi, our first presenter, who just completed his presentation. We have some presentations lined up. However, we are informed that our guests are already within the university, and therefore we will not be able to take on the next set of presentations. We have two presenters who are ready online to present, but we will not be able to go on at the moment because we want to get ready for the official opening ceremony So we kindly request that we stay put and as we await that. But now that the presenter, Dr. Francis Mundia, is back, we can appreciate him. We will also give him an opportunity to respond to a few questions maybe later on, or as we await the guests to come in, we could pose a few questions to the presenter. But before then, I request that we put our hands together and appreciate him. Thank you so much for this topic that you have presented today. In line with the Olympics movement and the issues of endurance performance. This is an area that is of interest to many of us because we know that we are a powerhouse in endurance activities. But now you brought in the issue of marrying technology and talent. Which direction do we want to take? But I think it is a topic that should be discussed even further to ensure that we are able to marry the two. So for now, if we have any questions or comments towards that presentation, we can take 2 or 3 as we wait for the guests to arrive. Any question or concern or reaction to the presentation that we just had? We can even take questions from online. If we have any questions from online presenters and participants, we can take those questions. Any question? We have a hand at the front.
Thank you, Chairperson. My name is Richard Oduor. I have a background in molecular biology, and therefore I'm very ignorant on matters sport, but I just needed to just tease your mind around certain things. When I see people running or doing exercises and sports in general, particularly those that are direct, say 100 meters, I keep seeing people of different heights. You see there's somebody who is very tall, others are average, others are just very few. And I keep wondering whether there is a thinking towards standardization of even some of these anatomical variations, so that the difference or the talent is not attributable to just the anatomical advantage. Is it a discussion that is coming, or we just allow you to join irrespective of regardless of your height and anatomical advantage, you just go in there and run? Because under this, I was just listening to you saying that there are a lot more standardizations that are currently happening around the shoe, the material that is being used, the thickness of the sole, and all these things are now coming up. And I'm wondering, why are we leaving the real anatomical variations? Why can't we take people who are 5 feet tall, all of them to pace at the same time, so that really it's talent, not advantage of the anatomical stuff?
Thank you, and I think we can take maybe another 1 or 2, and then I'll respond. The people who are controlling online also, they can tell us whether there is a question or reaction from people online. So if I can respond to that, thank you for that good question. that concern is very varied, and definitely that's why even this presentation is here. The presentation focusing on some of the artificial, some ways of boosting performance, which we can all clearly see this is more artificial than natural ways of boosting performance. As for your question about standardization in terms of anatomical differences, these are big topic and issue which the sports managers are grappling with. But first I will say anatomical differences may be natural. Yeah? They may not be artificial. However, it is a little concern because first, even we are of diverse anatomical makeup, men and women. Long ago, sports was only for men, males. Even at high level, Olympic level, ladies were included in sports in the Olympic of 1928. Many events were not even included for women until very late. Events like triple jump, hammer throw, even in the 90s, the early 90s, I think 80s, that's when they were incorporated for women. They were considered only for men. So in a way, progressively, people in sports have tried. There is a current debate, of course you have heard it, about Caster Semenya, people in these female athletes who seem to have more adrenaline, more male hormones in them, and the authorities, sports authorities, are grappling with that. They are even they have gone to courts of arbitrations to see how they can resolve some of these questions and concerns. In terms of size, it is also a concern. Basketballers, there are those people who are very tall. How do you play now without giving these people who are shorter their own version, their own medal, or their own even prize? Yeah, so it's a little concern. And coming back home, the last census, in terms of gender, it was able to go to a step further to acknowledge that there is a third gender. And we were told by statisticians that about 2,000 people ticked that they don't fit perfectly to either male or female. Now that we recognize them through that, through government procedures, we cannot continue hiding and saying now that they don't exist. One of these days we can have one of them going to the court and stop an international event and say, how comes you have only a medal for men and a medal for women? Where it is? Where is the opportunity for us? Yeah. So the issue of anatomical differences is real, and is a challenge that sports authorities are currently grappling with. Yeah. Issues of standardization attempts have been done in terms of anatomical, like I said, in terms of gender, and also is currently in place for people with disabilities. There's classifications which are normally done to ensure that you are not pitting people with very different ability together. So in that line, it is in place, but of course, not without challenges, not without controversies. Yeah, it is hard to achieve that 100% parity. Yeah. Thank you very much. I hope I did justice to that question. Thank you. Is there still another one I can take?
Good morning, all, and thank you so much for your presentation, sir. Gitao John, and my field is hospitality and tourism, and I know there is a place where sports come in. But I'm concerned, the presentation is on running shoes. Is there an in-between? Because when you look at those athletes, they have good legs, and their legs are, or the feet are well sculptured. Is there an in-between or are there advantages if somebody would run barefoot?
Thank you for the question. Another? Yes, go ahead.
Well, me again, and I promise this is the last question I'm asking. And usually when it's not your area of strength, you have a lot of questions to ask. And I'm looking at the sports overally and globally, and in the face of technology development. Before, you would find so many people around the sports grounds in the fields, at least watching and cheering sports persons. But now with the emergence of robotics and computers and PSs and all that, I find many people now actually sitting comfortably in their houses and playing football or enjoying the games, just playing with the computers and all that. So what does this do in the bigger picture of sports? Is it that we are transferring now talent to computers and software engineers to create games for us, and therefore that is the thinking? Is it worrying the sports family in terms of how we are getting dependent on the gadgets, and therefore probably we start thinking about talents through the softwares rather than real physical thing that we are used to? Is it worrying the sports person globally? Just your thoughts.
Thank you. And I think I can go ahead to respond to those. The issue of barefoot learning is also an interesting area in sports research. There are our learners, or even learners from other parts of the world, which have who have done or shown outstanding performance, wearing not so sophisticated shoes. There's what is called barefoot learning, and also minimalist, wearing a shoe which is really minimal, is not having too much materials. There's one athlete who was called Jim Thorpe. I'm sure my pioneers here, they remember him because they are famous athletes who are able to, the only person who was able to win both pentathlon and pentathlon and this other event which disappeared, over 5 events, decathlon and pentathlon, and many other medals in the 1930s. During the finals, some people had stolen his shoes. He went aloud looking for shoes, found one in the dustbin which were not matching. Yeah, put them on and went and won the race. Yeah? There was also the first marathon African runners or participants in the, I think, 1904 Olympics. One of them called Lintau. They were South African born. They were South Africans who happened to be in the US participating in a fair or kind of some shows during that time. And because there was no much attendance of the event or participants, the organizer said, anybody who is participating in this fair, yeah, kind of a trade fair, can join the event. So these guys joined and they performed very well. I think this person finished number 13, if I remember very well, and was running barefoot. Also in Kenya, there are some people who have recorded outstanding performance running barefoot. However, research shows there is an advantage of using shoes technology in terms of distributing forces from all the working muscles, especially of the legs, distributing them over the working foot, the joints of the foot. Also, issues of returning some energy in terms of the bounce, in terms of this foam technology. So in terms of improving efficiency, even the running technique can be more efficient when you have some of these advanced shoes. However, also research in barefoot running and minimalist is also vibrant. Currently has been able to show that there are benefits of running barefoot. Most of it is improved proprioception and neuromuscular biofeedback. Improved sensory perception and all that, but no advantage in terms of performance. So shoes, technologically boosted shoes are able to boost performance much better than when you are running barefoot. If I can touch, but even before moving out of there, we are also saying, in my presentation I said there is importance of independent trials. Some of these information we get that this shoe is able to boost this and that, sometimes it's not independent, it's not from independent studies. So it is important to ensure that also we are not being exploited commercially to buy exorbitant shoes which are also not boosting performance, or in the name of boosting performance, while we can do much better without them or with minimal investment in shoes. The issue of ICT, people who are now playing computer games, computer sports, and all that. Definitely that would encourage kind of sedentarism which is a concern. It's a big concern world over because of these hypokinetic diseases in condition. But all is not lost that technology or ICT and internet, there's a way has been used to ensure that real sporting out there in the field is happening, even with the facilitation of ICT technology. During COVID, there were a number of sports events which were hosted. I saw some people competing, though in different countries. Somebody competing in our Nyayo Stadium against somebody in other parts of the world. Yeah? They are starting at the same time. And of course, at the finish line, we'll see who clocked the finish line faster than the other one, or earlier than the other person. So in that way, people have been innovative to use ICT positively to ensure actually we are performing and we are not solely now taking sports to the computer while we are seated. This I can also tie with the issues of our curriculum. Curriculum, the CBC, competence-based curriculum or education system currently implemented in Kenya. It has made physical education and sports not only compulsory, because it was compulsory even long ago, but also examinable. Long ago, before that, efforts to make it examinable at secondary school and primary school, some people are saying, now if you make it examinable, people will move now to the library to go and cram things there in terms of physical education, as opposed to going to the field. Yeah. However, even with the argument that we need people in the field, not in the library, was not helping, because people now are ignoring it because it is not examinable, it's not contributing to the grade at the end of the year. So during this period, the mathematics teacher, physics teacher can go in and try to cover their syllabus. And this area was really suffering. Yeah? So we are happy with CBC, which has made physical education and sports and even sports science examinable at all levels. We have seen so far people getting more interest. Yeah? There's a renewed interest by people who did physical education at various levels, at diploma level and all that, and they were not teaching these things in secondary school or primary school. Now they are taking it up, and there is more participation in the field and also in classroom. So thank you. I hope I did not digress so much from tackling your question. Thank you. The chairman will be coming to give us the update, but while I'm still here, I can take more reaction. Yes.
Thank you. My name is Ronnie from the University of Nairobi, and just on what that gentleman there has asked on video games. So I just wanted to add on that, but not to digress so much that it becomes the topic, that it's being considered by some people as a sport, as an electronic sport. And I think it's not a threat, but it's a complement to what you call brick and mortar sport, the traditional sport, because FIFA has also a category for electronic football. We've seen even the Commonwealth Games that are coming up in July have a category for people to participate in electronic sports, the video games, because some of the aspects in there make people maybe better coaches and better players. There are football academies in Europe who are trying it out, that when an 8 or a 9-year-old plays football in a computer game, in a video game, he or she, the understanding of the game is developed earlier, because apart from your talent, you need to understand the game, the movement, the formation. So I think, and also with these global sporting bodies coming into it, they're also coming with physical regimes that these people who play electronic sports can be able to adhere to. So in more advanced economies, people who play these video games are they also have a physical, they also have some physical exercise that they do. So I think it's just a matter of the two complementing each other and not one taking something away from the other. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for those observations. And in a nutshell, you are saying that the video games got their praise, got their purpose. So long as we ensure that we don't underplay the importance of actually going to the field or to the gym or doing the action physically. Thank you. I'm not sure whether you have that video games going to Olympic sports, but I know there are some sports which have been said to kind of stimulate mental or improve intelligence and all that. Games like chess, Scrabble, all those can be referred as sports. You can play face to face or even via internet. Yeah, you have said they have a lot to play, but ensure that these people, as they do that, they supplement that with the actual physical activities. They should ensure they go to the field or even to the gym after those sports. So, Chairman can take over. Okay.
Thank you very much, Dr. Mundia, for that presentation and responding to our questions that we had, and making this area much more understood. We continue to await the arrival of our guests, and as I had mentioned earlier, we will hold the presentations for a moment until we are able to have the official opening, because we do not want to interrupt any presentation, and therefore I kindly request us to remain put as we await the arrival of our guests, so that we can officially start this ceremony. So we will pend the other presentations for a moment until we are ready to move on. Just take your time, and we could be networking, exchanging a few contacts, maybe knowing where we come from and all that. I know we've been seated for like 30 minutes or so, and some of us are already starting to feel some tension, and therefore I want to invite Mr. Stanley Kagunda to come and stretch us a bit. We have been seated for a few minutes. We keep stretching as we move on. A few stretches, Mr. Kagunda, as we move on. Thank you.
To MC this event, that is the 10th Federation of Africa University Sports Games, Pre-Games International Symposium. And feel welcome, feel free, and we look forward to interacting with you today. So I take this opportunity to welcome all guests, management of Kenyatta University, the DVC Research, Innovation and Outlook, DVC Academic, DVC Finance and Administration, and the respective registrars, chairs of department, deans, all protocols observed. So as we wait for our guests to arrive, when they arrive, when they're coming in, I will request you to remain upstanding so that we may receive our guests. We are expecting a representative from the Ministry of Education, Mr. Gay Wamotinda, the Deputy Senior Secretary Administration, Department of University of Education, who will be representing Ambassador Simon Nabukwesi, the Permanent Secretary, State Department, University Education. We are also expecting our keynote speaker for today, Professor Professor Malete, an Associate Professor, Michigan State University. So as I wait to be advised on the arrival of our chief guest, you may continue interacting with your neighbor or stand up and shake the hand of the person who is behind you. Thank you very much. I will be back in a few. For our Vice Chancellor, Professor Wanaina, our chief guest, and representative of the State Department of University Education as they come in. Welcome, Professor Paul Wanaina, Vice Chancellor, Kenyatta University. Welcome, Mr. Gay Wamutinda, Deputy Senior Secretary, Administration. We also extend a warm welcome to all the senior management of Kenyatta University. Thank you very much for gracing this occasion. For sure, without you, this occasion would not have been a success. We also want to recognize Mr. Daisuke Mizoguchi, the director of the Japan Society for the Promotion of Science. So feel welcome, everybody. And without much further ado, and all protocols observed, please take your seats, and we shall begin the program. So we will begin with the anthems, and I am going to call upon Dr. Elijah Adongo to take us through this particular session. Thank you.
For the anthems.
Tukae na undugu, amani na uhuru.
tuwezeshe kuishi kwa amani, tutimize na malengo yetu. Jumuiya yetu sote tuilinde, tuwajibike, tuimarike. Umoja wetu ni nguzo yetu, idumu jumuiya yetu. Renowned fountain, fountain of knowledge, well of learning experience, a bubbling spring of wisdom, a promise of better tomorrow. Kenyatta, oh Kenyatta, our nation's star. Kenyatta, our nation's pride, university of our time. Kenyatta, oh Kenyatta, our nation.